Prapannaparijataya Totravetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritaduhe Namaha. So many illusions are well known. The sun rises in the east, and humanity has believed that to be the unquestionable truth until some 500 years ago. They found it's not the sun that rises, but it's the earth that rotates around its own axis. People, especially children, may not even understand how when it is day in India, it is night in the Western world, especially North America or South America. They may blink, how is that possible? It's so bright here, how can it be dark somewhere else? When they know the science of it, they will understand. So many such forms of current understanding getting completely overturned by a new understanding is not something we do not know, but of all of them, of thousands of illusions, the most fundamental illusion is of space and time. Space and time are the warp and woof of this Maya Janita Vishwa. No wonder in Dakshinamurti Stotra, Sri Shankaracharya has a line, I guess in second or third shloka, Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitri kritam tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye. That Dakshinamurti, who is the great divine magician, and his magic, Maya, involves, before anything else, space and time, desha and kala. You open a chessboard, then begin to play. You take white, your friend takes black, and between the white pawns and bishops, knights and rooks, king and queen on this side, and pawns and bishops and knights and queen and rook, etc. on the opposite side, the game of chess proceeds. But first, you open the chessboard, 64 squares, put it there and then place the pieces of the game of chess. Space and time are like that board, and hardly anyone suspects that these two, space and time, could be not true. They could also be an illusion. And in recent times, in the last century, Albert Einstein opened, we may call it the Pandora's box, for what he discovered and shared with people, with all humanity, shook the foundations of science, of physics. In the ancient times, Rishis and Muniz, much before the Acharyas came, Shankara, Madhva, Ramanuja and others, the Rishis and Muniz, we don't know how they figured out. They did not have laboratories outside with instruments of science. Their laboratory was something unimaginable, unbelievable. They saw things with their own powers of the mind, and uncompromisingly and unceasingly the spiritual science tells us every one of us has lots of mental powers which we have not tapped at all. I guess even in modern neuroscience and so on, they do say this much, that what we use is only 2% of brain's capacities. 98% remains unused. Like if you have an advanced smartphone, iPhone 14 or something like that, what you use typically is only 2%. There are countless capabilities in that smartphone, not to mention what you can download and install. So many apps you can install, and it's so difficult to imagine. Having said they used powers of their mind, let me tell you one parallel. In early 20th century, about not even that far back, I guess in the 1950s, earlier. Annie Besant died in 1930 or 32. So around 1905 or 1910, I guess, Annie Besant, who was a great champion of women's rights, champion of India's freedom, and before she got into all that was a member of parliament in Britain. She was a voice that was heard on the floor of British Parliament. She would stand, there is some famous circle in London, she would stand on a pedestal and speak. People would listen to her with awe. An Irish woman, not from England, Scotland or Wales. By background she was an Irish woman. But this Annie Besant eventually translated Bhagavad Geeta, and with her powers, her mental powers, knew things, saw things which people could not see. She and Leadbeater recognized an 11-year-old boy playing on the sands of the Indian Ocean at Adyar, Madras. She had recognized that this boy, there's a halo around him. There's a halo around everybody's head, but this halo is free from selfishness and so on, and rest is history. J. Krishnamurti was groomed by her. But I am telling you in the context of the powers that lie in every one of us, and we are too busy to do anything about them. Annie Besant and Leadbeater, through meditation, no laboratory with pipettes and test tubes and flasks and Bunsen burner or some other, none of those. With their meditation, with some mystical practices which they went into, wrote down the molecular structures of very many things, and there is a whole book available. That book is called Occult Chemistry. Occult Chemistry, published during those days. Annie Besant died in 1930, I guess, or maybe 32. So, imagine. And it was later that Bohr or Rutherford or so many other scientists, one by one, they revealed the atomic structure, in fact, molecular structure. Of course, their drawings are not, same as what you find, but striking resemblance and very, very close to what scientists discovered later. Many of you might have got a drawing on WhatsApp. Ramanujacharya, in his meditation, had conceived, had seen a drawing, the global drawing. It looks like some two animals, some, what is that, a cow or some cat or something, a leaf or something. And he shared it with his students. This earth of ours, he may not have used the word globe, this earth has these dvipa, islands. Our literature had the expression, Sapta Dvipa Vasundhara, earth consisting of 7 islands. Today you talk of continents with those oceans, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Black Ocean, Red Sea, so many. Ramanujacharya had scribbled a drawing of which he had a vision. It came on WhatsApp, I also saved it, but in problem with smartphone is you save something, then you wonder in which group, where was it? Searching is an operation. Maybe before saving we should also add a text message, save it somewhere, and with a text message with keywords. Map of the world by Sri Ramanujacharya. You can always associate, right, a text message. Then search will be easy. Anyway, that's also unbelievable. I too looked at it, and whoever had sent it to me said, this is the map Sri Ramanujacharya gave of the earth. It looks like some 2 animals and some, ashwatha leaf. What is this? Then there is one more sentence in the text message. Turn it upside down. So you turn it 180 degrees upside down. Wow, you will be amazed. It looks like the shape of North America, South America, shape of Asia, and shape of Africa. I guess another piece, Australia too. So what we today have are shown in that with 80% correctness. If you get it, you won't feel like deleting it. Really? How did he see this? So there is a great domain. There is a great domain of things which you and I can know through our own hidden powers of the mind. I am not making a case for running after siddhis, miraculous powers, which are actually dangerous, which can become a tremendous attachment, and then you and I might forget the true goal of life, which is God realization, which is liberation. We might get so engrossed in using those siddhis, that risk does exist. But I am talking about all these to give a basis for these 2 shlokas or these 3 shlokas, where Sri Krishna rather casually says, thousands of yugas of humanity are like one day for Prajapati or Brahma, and thousands of yugas, or 8,000 yugas you may say, Sahasra Yuga, is equal to one night of Brahma or Prajapati. And this people know, those yogis, those who turn inward and going with Shraddha, Bhakti and Dhyana, as once more Kaivalya Upanishad puts it, Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana, Yogat, Avaihi. Please know this liberating truth through Shraddha. Do not simply question with kutarka, some kind of questioning everything just for a sadistic pleasure. just to disturb another person. Otherwise, questions are encouraged in the Vedic tradition. Sri Krishna says, doesn't he, in 4th chapter, he says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena. Prashna itself means question. Pariprashna means ask questions from all angles of view. Pari, samantat, from different directions. Do ask questions. Upadekshanti, those teachers will instruct you, but go about it with a healthy disposition. Do not take pleasure in simply destabilizing some system, finding fault with some system, religious or other, and shutting your eyes to all good that is there in that system. Just harp on that, and you get funded from some sources, you get some glitter and glamour in that, but what have you achieved? Neither be a blind follower, agreed, nor should you be a destabilizer for the pleasure of, as there is a saying in Kannada, the pot maker takes a long time to make a pot. And you come with a stick, damar, and let's go for some champagne now. I broke this pot. Kumbharanige varusha, donnege nimisha. There is a saying. So destabilizing, destroying, bigardo, girado, mardo, is so easy. Finally your karma will catch up with you. Therefore, I am not hitting only against leftists. Leftists have a tendency to destabilize things. And rightists also have a problem. They want to draw and draw and draw more from established setting. Because there are privileges you enjoy. If you are a Brahmin, if you are a position-wise already son of an MLA, if you are already related to some powerful person, you get some benefits, right? You are from a royal family. You yourself are not anything, but you have those associations. You yourself don't know ABC of Sanskrit or Vedas, but you show your sacred thread. So the right wing has a problem. It tries to draw, go on drawing, use the same check and draw money 7 times. That kind of. We have got to be, you and I should examine, am I taking undue advantage of some associated factor? We Swamis, for example, have to examine. Because I am a Swami, a lot of people trust me. Should I take advantage of it in undue measure? So one has to see. And the leftists have to examine. By simply destroying whatever has been set up, political or religious or linguistic or cultural or this or that, what do you get? Why don't you try to understand from their point of view? The whites went all over the world and they tried to pull down, the systems of the native cultures. Some whites, Europeans, who are more conscientious, who are listening to their conscience, along the road they found that, there are many things where we have to learn from these tribals, from these natives, from these local people. Who are we to tell them the way of living? Their lifestyle is more in harmony with nature, and we have brought some artificialities and we are trying to tell them follow our way. So some conscientious Europeans turned around. They embraced not just religion but some ways of living of the natives everywhere, Australia or India or so many places. So the powers of the mind are not to be sought for showing off or some kind of miraculous powers for just the pleasure of it, but for liberation. In this context, for example, if you and I once in a while realize that our whole life, even if we live 100 years, is so tiny, so short, whereas the soul's journey is very long. We need to keep the soul's journey in mind, not be too carried away by the plus and minus points of one lifespan. Duram Pashya Ma Hrasvam is a slogan in good old literature. Be farsighted. Do not always see from point of view of immediate gains, right? Sahasra Yoga Paryantam. Ahaha is neuter, therefore Paryantam. Second line, Ratrim Su Yuga Sahasrantam Dirgha, because Ratri is feminine. The truth of relativity of time. And on the highest plane, there is no time at all. Brahmani, Parabrahmani, Shuddha Brahmani, Kalaha na asti eva. But in the manifest universe, time is not the same everywhere. In Brahmaloka, time is different. On the earth, time is different. For earthlings or people on the earth, those who know this are Ahoratra Vidaha Janaha. Ahoratra with or with. The verbal root with is behind the word Veda. Veda is knowledge. Ahoratra vid. Those people are indeed knowers of day and night. He knows day and night, the inner secrets. And it was, did we cover this 18? Yes, we did. So we saw in the 18th verse, we did not go into the details. When you see far, when you see the larger picture, this entire universe, we really don't know even today whether there are living beings on other places in the universe. Probably there are some planets, there are some lokas. We know about the earth. All this comes from certain unmanifest domain. Unmanifest domain known as avyakta. Vyakta means expressed, manifest. Avyakta, not manifest. From the unmanifest arises the manifest. Vyaktayaha sarvaha, plural vyaktayaha. So, manifest beings, we the humanity and animals and plants and so on and so forth. Ooh, so what a long list. All of them emerge from avyakta and then tatra eva avyakta sanjnake praliyante. They go back and merge in the same unmanifest. They come from the unmanifest. For a little while they are seen. We see each other. Then all go back to unmanifest. And then it is said, when we talk samashti, in that total view, we talk about the whole universe, the time for which the universe is visible is one day of Brahma. And the time when pralaya has taken place and everything is in dissolution, that is one night. Therefore, ahar agame. Agama is coming. On arrival of the day, annaha, ahnaha, agame, ahar agame. At the time of when the day begins, every living being manifests. based on past karma. And Ratragame, the day is over, night begins for Prajapati. When Prajapati's night begins, all go into dissolution. In other religious scriptures too, there is some concept of this whole thing being dissolved. Some Khayamat and some other words are used. In the Old Testament, I believe there are some stories and some Noah's Ark and so many things, So this concept of the whole world, whole universe coming under deluge, right, is common to very many religious traditions. In Geeta, it is said Pralaya. So Pralaya and Srishti. Again Pralaya and Srishti. Therefore somebody asked a Swamiji, what is your concept of creation? And Swamiji said, we don't have concept of creation, we have only recreation. Our scriptures talk about endless recreation. That is, recreate. This is not a one-time affair. How many times Pralaya has taken place and how many times Srishti has taken place, God knows. So, recreation. Our creation is recreation. Praliyante. And night is when Prajapati sleeps. Shankara says, Prajapatehe swapa avastha. Swapa. Prajapati, Chaturmukha Brahma, starts yawning and he goes to sleep. Entire universe is sucked into the unmanifest. And for a very long time, I wonder whether the seers of the Semitic religions, technically the Semitic religions is an expression used for Jewish, Christian and Islamic religions, all three. Though nowadays in many contexts, when the word Semitic is used, anti-Semitic prejudice, anti-Semitic bias, it refers to the bias against Jewish people. But otherwise, Judaism, who took the Old Testament, who respect, then of course they have Torah, all those scriptures. Christianity, where Jesus Christ added the New Testament to the Old Testament. The New Testament is the Bible. Then Islam, where Quran, and in a sequence. Like in India we had Shankara popularized Advaita. 200 years later Ramanuja came and said, I'll tell you, it is Vishishta Advaita. And another 200 years later Madhvacharya came and said, finally the truth is Dvaita. And this Indian mind assimilated, accommodated all, and today we have all of them everywhere, wherever you go. Dvaita, Advaita, Vishishta Advaita with some other variations are seen. Everywhere, all across India, even abroad where the diaspora has established centers of learning, you find all these three present. So I wonder whether sometimes the expression, the day of judgment then sends the souls to hell or heaven for eternity. Maybe that word eternity was the mystic visualization by those seers in those religions of this Ratri of Prajapati. For a very long time, nothing is moving, no head is rising, no name and form is appearing, no sound, no smell, everything is silence. And after a long time, why do you say after a long time? Is there time in that state of pralaya? In the state of pralaya, in avyakta, there is no time too. Clocks do not tick. There is neither psychological time nor clock time. Clocks themselves dissolve. No clock at all. So, then why do you say a long time of pralaya? It is from our Srishti's point of view. We extrapolate. From our point of view, it's a very long time. Bharati Murjani, Vibha Chaitanya, and I got the opportunity to go to the Sistine Chapel in Rome, in the Vatican. And Rome is city, Vatican is another country, as you know, though geographically it is in Rome. And I asked the fairly senior, father who took us around. There was one kind father who was acted as the guide. And if I remember right, standing right below Michelangelo's drawings in the Sistine Chapel, I asked him a question. Father, one thing you tell me, this Day of Judgment concept in Christianity. Somebody dies in 2022. Somebody had died in 1632. Somebody will die in 2442. So 400 years before people who died that time, 400 years later, 2022, then another 400 years. As I have understood this concept, all of them are put somewhere. They have to wait for the day of judgment. That is the concept. When the day of judgment arrives, God says, okay, let's take stock of things. And then some souls in Christianity who had accepted Jesus Christ are sent to heaven. And all others, in spite of immense pressure from missionaries and temptations and this and that, everything, from chocolates to clothes to houses to pieces of land and the sword and the, all kinds of things, some people never accepted Christ. And I didn't say all this to that father. I'm spicing it now. And all of them, at the time of day of judgment, Rama Rama, they have to wait. Someone has died in 2022 and let's say the day of judgment comes another 5,000 years later. He has to wait for so long. Isn't it unfair? So that father's answer was very witty. I can never forget that. He smiled at all three of us and said, there is no injustice over there. If souls are asked to wait till the day of judgment, before it is said whether they will go to hell or heaven, that delay is not unfair at all. I said, why? They are put into deep sleep, right? The soul is in deep sleep. In deep sleep there is no time. I had a hearty laugh. We said, that is true. You will suffer while waiting for some, you have booked an apartment and all the payment is done, paperwork is over. It is not being, possession is getting delayed. You will say, how long will it take for me to get possession of this flat, which has been the dream of my wife and me, or my husband and me, right? Because you are up and active and your mind is operating. Suppose you are in deep sleep and actually the house finally came to you 24 years after you had paid the full amount. If those 24 years, if you are deep asleep, as they say in Hindi, kya farak padta hai? What difference? You went into deep sleep, then you wake up. And the builders or whoever say, it's ready for possession. Padariye, get in. You will go dancing, no complaint. Anyway, so there are interesting concepts in all the religious It's a literature, right? So, Ratri Agame. So, concepts of day and night of Prajapati are interwoven here with the soul's journey. The soul's awake, do karma, acquire punya or papa, all that during the day of Prajapati. During the night, the tamasha is suspended. The show is suspended. Right? Now, in Shankara's commentary, there are two more interesting things. And that is, yes. Yes, I myself took 2 minutes to understand this. In fact, that is better connected with the next shloka. What he says, between two shlokas, he makes some comments. Let's see one more shloka for now. In the next shloka, in English, let me put it first in English. It is said, when pralaya takes place, all jivatmas, the individual souls, living beings, all of them go into dissolution. None of them is moving around. None of them has a body to sport, right? Then when Srishti takes place, countless living beings again emerge, right? A question arises, are they the same jivatmas or some new bunch? And are they the ones who carry forward the karma before they went into pralaya? This shloka says they are the same. Millions of years, let us say, is that pralaya. Before that pralaya happened, all the jivas were put into sleep, let us say. In fact, they lose their body, they lose their upakarana, antakarana, everything. Lose in the sense they are not manifest. So are they the same souls? Their credit, debit, etc. are maintained somewhere? This shloka says, yes. Let's read this. Bhuta gramaha sa evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate Ratragame avasha partha prabhavati aharagame bhutagrama sa evayam The three words to be underlined in a manner of saying, you don't have to really underline. Maybe underline the point in your own head. Underline the understanding you have. Highlight it. The three words to be underlined are sa eva. In fact, not even ayam can be dropped. Sa eva bhutagramaha. Several billions of jivatmas, counting only human population, there are jivatmas of animals also, and birds, etc. But thinking of just humanity, suppose pralaya takes place, let us be considerate to all of us. We don't want to die prematurely. So even the youngest here, let us say, wants to be full 100 years. So 80 years from now, 2100 year, pralaya takes place. All of us will go into pralaya, right? Then those very jivatmas, sa eva bhutagramaha. It is adjective to bhutagrama. Sa eva bhu, that's samudaya, that's samuha. Those very souls, right, will again prabhavati. When the so-called long period of pralaya gets over, all these fellows, as though It's like a mela is going on. And there is, Vivekananda gave this example of giant wheel. One of the attractions in a mela is a giant wheel with those cradles or with those boxes. 2 people, let's say, sit in each, and there are some 25 such cradles, such boxes. And all of us have played. At a time we had cried if our parents said, no, today there's no time for this, we have done everything else, let's go home. I want to at least once go around. Finally our parents said, Grahachar. And the father said, we should not have got children at all. The mother said, I should not have married you in the first place. So our crying for one more, one round of giant wheel made them so philosophical about marriage, about children, about everything. Anyhow, they said, okay, quick, just one. They bought tickets for us and we sat, and it went so up and what an excitement. Then it comes down. Then we come out. Then we go home. Vivekananda said, this world is like a giant wheel. There is a time when you people would be going up and down. Then once you reach a little older age, even if parents beg of you, come on, play, please. No, I'm not interested. Nowadays children would be saying, don't disturb me, and they'll be checking something on the mobile. So, why did Vivekananda give that example? A beautiful point comes there. People stop going to the giant wheel when they get a bit older. But does the giant wheel stop? The giant wheel was in all the melas hundreds of years ago. Now also you have. Today we will go to our site. On the way, about 20 minutes before, on the right side, there is an entertainment park called Imagica. I'm not sure exactly whether that giant wheel of the melas is there, but other kinds of roller coaster ride and fun, great fun, It's a mini or micro Disneyland on way to Huawei, where we are going, Imagica. So, Vivekananda said, certain jivatmas may get liberated. They are no more caught in the sansara, but other jivatmas come. But that, they're like giant wheels. Some people no more, they don't even go to any mela. But thousands and thousands are going, other jivatmas are going there. So world is like a giant wheel that keeps running. But the particular jivatmas who are enjoying the giant wheel are no more over there. So the issue is saeva. Why did I say highlight it or underline it? The idea is, at the time of pralaya, billions of jivatmas went into quietude. And suppose, I don't like this theory. When the new cycle begins, it should be a new batch, not old jivatmas. The problem is, if that is designed, then in any creation, right at the time of birth, there is inequality. Physically, some are very healthy, some have handicaps. Mentally also, some are very bright. Some in various subjects. Child prodigies exist. At the age of 4, who was that? Mozart or someone, composed some music pieces. They are child prodigies. And then there are some, even at the age of 50 or 60, they mess up never ask them to sing a song or something. We had one guy in Indiranagar Krishna temple in Chinmay Mission. He had come from Sringeri. He was a learned Brahmin. He knew Veda mantras. He chanted. But it was horrible to have him at the evening satsang. Give him any bhajan, he can't sing bhajans at all. He goes about the bhajan like it is another Veda mantra, He gets only Udatta, Anudatta, the three, Anudatta, Udatta and Swarita. Any bhajan, My God, I never met somebody like that afterwards or before that. His mind is into only those three levels. Maybe once in a while a Shigra also, Sahasra Shesha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. When does Shigra come? Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishta Dashangulam. When? Purusha Evedagam Sarvam. That's Shigra. Once that he would do in bhajans also. Then we saluted his hands, saluted him and said, "You keep quiet during bhajans, and nor do we want you to lead a bhajan." Vedic mantra, he was so good. No book was necessary. So inequality is present. Vivekananda said, all are equal in potential, but at a given point of time, some are able to express more, some are able to express their hidden talents less. So what is the problem? If it is a new bunch of jivas, then any equality would be unjustifiable. What is right about Saeva, same Bhutagrama? It is explained by karma. These people are behind, those people are ahead. In science or maths, in religion or sports, doesn't matter. The diversity, the inequality in terms of what they are able to express on their own. You then educate them, you teach them, you know what you call nature and nurture battle. Some have a certain nature and some are to be nurtured in order to express certain skills. That's a different issue. But the differences in people is explained. Before the pralaya, no matter how long it was, they had a baggage of karma. Right? Then, therefore, when they are born, therefore, sa eva bruta gramaha. Anyway, all this is not to make things more and more complicated. Because people have questions, the answers are given. Let me say one thing. This entire business of creation, then it plays, the game is playing for some time, then dissolution, srishti, sthiti, laya, again srishti, again sthiti, again laya. This whole thing from the Brahma Vidya point of view, Upanishadic point of view, Atmajnana point of view, is within the frame of reference of avidya. The whole thing is relatively true. Like you put a pencil in a glass of water, it seems to bend, let us say, by 20 degrees. It has not bent at all. Instead of glass of water, put that same thing in a glass of alcohol, which has a different specific density. Right? Put the same pencil in some other, transparent or translucent liquid, which is much thicker than water. Then the angle of bending to your eyes will be different. And you, like a sincere science student, okay, water, this was the angle, this was the angle, this. So you have made a list of theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, etc. up to theta 10. What is the truth of the whole matter on a higher level? Not in water, not in alcohol, not in turpentine, not in some other liquid, yet another liquid, some other translucent paint. At no time the pencil bent at all. Like that is the Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is a certain insight where you know that nobody is born, nobody dies, and to use a slang or colloquial kind of English, no, nothing ever happened. There is a book called Nothing Ever Happened. Do you know? Nothing Ever Happened. That is a book of dialogues with Papaji. Who is Papaji? There must be 2 or 3 Papaji. But this Papaji I am referring to is H.W.L. Punja, a certain man who was taken to be illumined. God knows who is illumined really. H.W.L. Punja was regarded as an enlightened man who spent many years before his death in Lucknow. He had come to Ramana Ashram. I think he had met Ramana, then he met Papa Ramdas also in Kanjangad. And then he had certain awakening. He became very popular, famous. And one of his students, Andrew Cohen, is very popular even now. And he is also believed to be enlightened by some people, we don't know. So this David Godman, connected with Ramanashram, as many of you may know, presently also I guess he lives in Ramanashram campus. He wrote so many books on Ramana. He also had interest in other saints. He went to Lucknow and spent some years with Papaji, H.W.L. Punja. And Papaji was day in and day out sharing his Advaita insights. And I guess David Godman brought 3 volumes of conversations with Papaji. And they were titled, interestingly, the general title for those books was Nothing Ever Happened. That is one of the high plateau teachings. Suppose in this camp, 1 or 2 of you rose to heights of Advaita Vedanta understanding. When you go home and people ask you, tell us what was the main teaching in that camp. What camp? That camp, 6-day camp, Narayani Dhamma. No Narayani Dhamma, no camp ever happened. Nothing ever happened. No, Swami Chidananji and Swami Hamsananji, Abhishek Chaitanyagiri, Advaitananji, so many they were there. Nobody came, nobody went. Nothing ever happened. They will never permit you to go to any spiritual camp thereafter. इतना कभी भी नहीं बिगड़े थे ये सारी जिंदगी में. पूरा दिमाग खराब हो गया. That way they will say. But at the right time, hopefully I will explain. I mean, you have understood to an extent, but it is the Advaita Vedanta's mind-blowing statement. And just like that pencil. The pencil never bent. It was only an optic illusion, refraction, right? No. Etat taduttamam satyam yatra kinchin na jayate, says Gaudapada. That's the Mandukya Karikas is regarded as a high plateau text. So I am saying this before concluding that all this creation, sustenance and dissolution, etc. is within the frame of reference of avidya. Those theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, the extent to which the pencil bent is valid within a certain outlook. That though it may be an appearance, but we want to know, does it appear more bent in this liquid? Does the pencil appear less bent in that liquid? The scientist has interest in that, so he collects the data. He knows that really it's not bending. Likewise, there is the Vyavahara level. You and I, Dharma Vichara it is. In Dharma Vichara, there is Papa, Punya, Srishti, Stilaya, good birth, wrong birth, bad birth, unfortunate birth, etc. All things are valid. On Moksha Vichara, no one is born, no one dies. You are that immortal Satchit Ananda. So, Saeva Bhutagramaha has its own significance. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So